and welcome to another exciting edition of NAERLS Smart Farmers Corner, brought to you by the S3A SRG under the NAERLS FARA, AFAS, SAA, C4C Soil Health Series in partnership with Zaria Fertilizer, your partner in productive farming. I am your host, Halima Musa. Every week, we bring practical farming knowledge from research stations and experienced farmers directly to your homes and field, helping you make better decisions for higher yield and improved livelihood. Today's topic is composting for soil health and crop productivity. Can crop residue become fertilizer? Can household waste improve harvest? Can farmers reduce fertilizer costs simply by managing what they already have? In episode 3, we discovered that burning crop residues damage the soil, and in episode 4, we learned how healthy soil supports crops, and one of the farmers discovered how tired his soil was. The soil doctor gave a little brief on composting and how it supports soil health, which is our topic for today. By the end of this program, you will know what compost is, why compost is important, how to prepare compost correctly, common mistakes farmers make, how compost works together with mineral fertilizers, and how compost can help farmers cope with drought and poor soil. Understand the soil, feed the soil, sustain the harvest, and secure the future. Joining me today, our guest, our soil doctor, Professor Aisha Abdelkadir, our lead farmer, Hajia Ramatu and Ibrahim, and our extension agent, Shoaibu. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. We are happy to be here.
It's my pleasure to be here.
So, Ibrahim and Ramatu, let me ask you a simple question. After harvest, what do you do with your maize stalk? What happens to the weed you remove from your farm? Where do your kitchen waste go? What about the manure from your cow, your goats, your sheep, or even chicken?
For me, it's simple. The crop residues, I burn most of them so I can clear the field quickly. Kitchen waste, I throw it behind the house. As for my goat manure, well, it just stays in the pen until the rains washes it away.
Ramatu.
That used to be my way too, but not anymore. Now, every stalk, dry leaf, wheat, kitchen waste, and animal manure has their own purpose. I don't see them as waste anymore. I see them as part of my next season's harvest.
Really? How can rubbish become next season's harvest?
That's exactly the question many farmers are asking. Some farmers burn these materials. Others throw them away. But are we throwing away something valuable? That is why we are here today, instead of answering that ourselves. Over to you, our soil doctor. You've heard our opening discussion. Many farmers hear the word compost, but think it simply means rotten rubbish. What exactly is compost?
That is one of the biggest misunderstandings among farmers. Compost is not rubbish. Compost is organic material that has been broken down by billions of living microorganisms into a stable material that improves soil fertility and soil health. In Hausa, compost is commonly referred to as takin gargajiya. It is produced from materials such as crop residues, animal manure, dry leaves, household vegetable waste, weeds, grasses, kitchen waste, and other organic materials that have been broken down naturally.
So, compost is much more than manure.
Exactly. Animal manure is only one ingredient. Good compost is produced by combining different organic materials so that microorganisms can convert them into a nutrient-rich soil conditioner.
Prof, you keep mentioning microorganisms. Can farmers even see them?
Not at all. They are too small to be seen with ordinary eyes, but they are among the hardest workers on the farm. Without microorganisms, there will be no fertile soil, no decomposition, no continuous release of nutrients, and no harvest.
So who are these invisible workers?
There are millions of them. The most important include bacteria, fungi, and many tiny soil animals like earthworms and insects. Together, they break down dead organic materials and convert them into plant nutrients. That is why we often call them the hidden workers beneath the soil.
So every compost pit is actually a factory?
Absolutely, it's like a factory. A living factory for that. One that works 24 hours a day without asking for salary.
That is a wonderful way to understand compost. Not a heap of rubbish, but a living fertilizer factory. Prof, many farmers listening may be asking themselves a simple question. If I already buy NPK fertilizer every year, why should I still bother making compost?
That is an excellent question. Many farmers think compost and fertilizer do the same job, but in reality they do not. Mineral fertilizer mainly feeds the crop. Compost feeds the soil. And remember, healthy soil is what supports healthy crops. Think of it this way. If you give nutritious food to a sick person whose stomach cannot digest it, will that person benefit fully?
Not at all.
Exactly. Likewise, if you apply fertilizer to unhealthy soil, much of the nutrients may be lost before the crop can even use them. Compost improves the soil so that fertilizers work more efficiently.
So, fertilizer and compost are partners rather than competitors?
Yes. Now you get it. One should complement the other.
Okay. Yanzu na gane.
Also, Prof, many of us simply see soil as sand or dirt. Is soil alive?
Very much alive. 1 teaspoon of healthy soil may contain millions of bacteria, hundreds of thousands of fungi, thousands of protozoa, beneficial nematodes, tiny insects, and many other organisms. These organisms decompose organic matter, recycle nutrients, improve soil structure, and even help protect crops against certain diseases. Without them, soil becomes lifeless.
That is why farmers often say, this land used to produce well, but now it is tired. The soil is not only lacking fertilizer, it is losing its living organisms and organic matter.
So when we add compost, we are feeding these living organisms.
Exactly. Compost is food for the soil community. When these organisms are alive, they continuously release nutrients that crops can absorb.
Prof, could you explain the major benefits of compost in simple terms?
Certainly. There are 5 major benefits every farmer should know. Firstly, compost improves soil structure. If your soil is sandy, compost helps it retain more water. If your soil is clayey, compost makes it softer, allowing roots to penetrate easily. Secondly, compost increases water holding capacity, which means organic matter acts like a sponge. During rainfall, it absorbs water. During dry periods, it slowly releases that water to plant roots. This helps crops survive short dry spells. Thirdly, compost supplies plant nutrients, which means that although compost releases nutrients more slowly than mineral fertilizers, it supplies a wide range of nutrients including nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, calcium, magnesium, and sulfur, and the most important micronutrients such as zinc, boron, copper, iron, and manganese. These nutrients contribute to healthy crop growth. Fourthly, compost improves fertilizer use efficiency, which means when mineral fertilizer is applied together with compost, the soil holds nutrients better, reducing losses through leaching or runoff. This means crops can use more of the fertilizer you paid for. And lastly, compost improves soil biological activities, which means it encourages beneficial organisms like earthworms and microorganisms that continuously improve soil fertility.
Wow, so compost does much more than simply add nutrients.
Very well. It improves the physical, chemical, and biological properties of soil.
Prof, I have only 1 hectare. Making compost sounds like a hard work. Is it really worth it?
That is an interesting question. Let me ask you a few questions. Do you have maize stalks?
Yes, I do.
Do you have weeds after weeding?
Yes, plenty.
What about kitchen waste?
We cook every day, so we have enough.
Good. What about goat manure?
I have plenty in my goat pen.
Dry leaves?
Enough.
You see, now you know you have already possessed the raw materials needed to produce compost. What you may be lacking is the knowledge of how to transform them into valuable organic fertilizer.
Prof, I remember when I first learned composting. Initially, I thought I had nothing. Then I realized almost everything around me in my compound could be useful. Now I rarely burn up crop residues. Instead, I compost them.
That is exactly what we encourage farmers to do. Crop residues should not be viewed as waste. They are valuable resources.
Prof, farmers often hear people talking about brown materials and green materials. What do this term mean?
Successful composting depends on balancing 2 groups of materials. The first group is called brown materials. These are rich in carbon. They include dry maize, stalks, millet stalks, sorghum stalks, maize cover, dry grass, dry leaves, rice straw, sawdust from untreated wood, and groundnut hulls. These provide energy for decomposing organisms. The second group is green materials. These are rich in nitrogen. They include fresh wheat, vegetable peels, kitchen waste, poultry manure, goat manure, cow dung, and green leaves. Green materials provide the nitrogen that microorganisms need for growth and rapid decomposition.
So can I just pile only maize stalks together?
No, if you use only dry materials, decomposition becomes very slow because microorganisms lack sufficient nitrogen.
What if I use only fresh manure?
That also creates problems. Too much nitrogen can make the compost pile wet, smelly and prone to nutrient loss.
Then what's the correct balance?
Good. A simple rule farmers can remember is 3 parts brown materials to 1 part green materials. For example, if you have 3 wheelbarrows of dry maize stalks mixed with 1 wheelbarrow of fresh weeds or manure, this balance provides enough carbon and nitrogen for efficient decomposition.
And remember to chop large stalks into smaller pieces before composting. Smaller pieces decompose faster because microorganisms have more surface area to work on.
So even cutting the stalks helps?
Very much. It can reduce composting time significantly.
Prof, are there materials farmers should never put into a compost heap?
Yes, of course. Now, one of the most important things to do is to avoid adding plastic materials, nylon bags, glass, metal, batteries, engine oil, paint, human waste, deceased crop residues, fresh meat or fish remains, large quantities of wood ash, chemicals or pesticides. These materials may introduce toxins or harmful organisms or even contaminants that reduce compost quality.
That is a very important point. Not everything that looks like waste belongs to a compost heap.
Now you get it. Good compost begins with good materials.
Prof has explained why compost is important. The benefits it brings to the soil and the kind of materials needed. Now our soil doctor will tell us exactly how every farmer can prepare quality compost at home. Over to you, soil doctor.
I would like you to remember a simple tip, which is a successful compost pile begins with proper planning, not simply throwing materials together. Now, the first step is choosing the right location. Your compost pit or heap should be close to your farm or your home, slightly shaded, well drained, protected from flooding, and close to a water source. Avoid low places where rainwater collects because excessive water slows decomposition and washes nutrients away.
Prof, some farmers place compost directly under the hot afternoon sun. Is that advisable?
Not really. Too much direct sunlight dries the compost quickly. Microorganisms need moisture to survive. A shaded place helps maintain the right temperature and moisture.
That explains why my first compost pit failed. I placed it in an open field. It became dry in a few days.
Now you can see where the problem lies. Site selection is the first secret of successful composting. Next, we prepare our materials by cutting the maize stalks into smaller pieces.
Prof, why can't we use them whole?
Now that is a very good question. Microorganisms work on surfaces. When we chop materials into smaller pieces, we increase the surface area available for decomposition. This allows compost to mature faster. Large stalks can delay decomposition by several weeks.
We normally advise farmers to cut stalks into pieces of about 10 to 15 centimeters where possible. This makes turning the compost easier too.
So chopping saves both time and labor later?
Absolutely. Now we begin layering. Think of making like a sandwich. Each layer has a purpose. The first layer should be dry brown materials, which includes maize and millet stalks, dry grass or dry leaves. The bottom layer improves air movement. Then you add the second layer, which consists of your green materials, your fresh weeds, your kitchen waste, fresh leaves, animal manure to provide nitrogen and help microorganisms multiply rapidly.
If I have poultry manure, can I use it?
Certainly, you can use it. Poultry manure is very rich in nitrogen, but it should always be mixed with other materials. Avoid putting large amounts in one place.
Then you sprinkle a thin layer of topsoil.
Exactly. The soil introduces additional microorganisms into the compost pile. These organisms help speed up decomposition.
So the order is brown materials, green materials, thin layer of soil, then repeat.
That is very correct. Continue building the pile until it reaches about 1 to 1.5 meters high. This size retains enough heat while remaining easy to manage. Next, you add water. Sprinkle water rather than pouring. Pouring is not advised. The compost should be moist, not soaked.
Prof, then how do I know when enough water has been added?
Every farmer should learn the squeeze test. It is a very important test, which involves take a handful of compost material, squeeze it firmly. If water runs out between your fingers, it is too wet. If nothing holds together and it falls apart immediately, it is also too dry. But if the material holds together and only 1 or 2 small drops appear or slips out of your fingers, the moisture is just right.
That's very easy to remember.
Yes, farmers do not need expensive equipment. Their hands are often the best measuring tools.
What happens after watering?
Now you cover the compost using dry grass, banana leaves, old sacks or other breathable materials. But do not cover it with plastic sheets that completely prevents airflow. The cover helps conserve moisture while also allowing air to enter.
So we are creating the right environment for billions of tiny workers.
Yes, you can think of it that way. Think of the compost pile as a home. If it becomes too dry or too hot or too wet, the microorganisms become less active.
Prof, although we cannot see these microorganisms, what exactly are they doing inside the compost pile?
That is one of the most fascinating parts of composting. Once the materials are arranged properly, microorganisms begin feeding on the organic matter. As they feed, they release heat. And that is why compost piles become warm after a few days. During active decomposition, temperatures usually rise to between 50 and 60 degrees Celsius. At this temperature, many weed seeds lose their ability to germinate. Several disease-causing organisms are destroyed and decomposition becomes much faster. This natural heating process is one reason well-made compost is safer and more beneficial than simply applying fresh waste directly to the field.
So if my compost becomes warm, I should not be afraid.
Not at all. You don't need to be afraid. Warmth is a sign that the microorganisms are hard at work. If the pile never becomes warm, it may mean there is too little moisture, too little nitrogen-rich material, or the pile is too small to retain heat.
That's amazing. What looks like an ordinary heap of farm waste is actually a living biological factory producing valuable organic fertilizer. We will take a break now, and when we return, NAERLS Smart Farmers Corner continues. Welcome back to NAERLS Smart Farmers Corner. Professor Aisha has just showed us how to prepare a compost heap using simple materials available on every farm. But after making the compost, is the work finished, Prof?
No, it is not finished. Making the heap is only the beginning. Good compost needs proper management until it matures. If farmers neglect the compost pile, decomposition becomes slow and the quality of the compost reduces.
What should be done next?
Now you turn the compost. Turning simply means moving the materials from the outside to the inside and from the inside to the outside. This introduces fresh air into the pile.
Prof, but why is this air so important?
The air is important because microorganisms responsible for making quality compost needs oxygen to survive, just like humans need oxygen to survive. When there's enough oxygen, we call the process aerobic decomposition. These beneficial microorganisms work quickly and produce very little smell. When oxygen is lacking, another group of microorganisms takes over. This is called anaerobic decomposition. Anaerobic decomposition is much slower and usually produces unpleasant smells.
So, if my compost smells like rotten eggs, something is wrong?
Of course, something is wrong. A foul smell is one of the first warning signs that the pile contains too much water or not enough air. Turning the pile usually solves the problem.
How often should farmers turn the compost?
Normally, it should be every 2 weeks or 3 weeks. During the rainy season, check the pile regularly because excess moisture may require more frequent turning. During the dry season, ensure the pile do not become too dry.
Prof, when I turn my compost, I notice steam coming out of it.
That is perfectly normal. The steam shows that microorganisms are actively working and generating heat, which is a good sign.
Suppose a farmer follows all the steps, Prof, but the compost still doesn't look right. How can they identify the problem?
That is also an excellent question. Every farmer should learn to read the compost pile. The pile tells you what it needs.
Okay, let's start with the first problem then.
The first problem is if the compost smells bad like a rotten egg, it usually means there is too much water or not enough air. The solution is to turn the pile and add more dry brown materials such as dry grass or maize stalks.
What if the compost is very dry?
A dry pile means microorganisms have stopped working efficiently. The solution is to sprinkle water gently until the pile becomes moist but not soaked.
Sometimes farmers tell me my compost refuses to heat up.
That usually happens when the pile is too small. There is too little nitrogen-rich material or the materials are too dry. Adding fresh green materials and adjusting moisture often solves the problem.
Prof, sometimes I see many flies around compost. Is that dangerous?
Not necessarily. See it this way. Too many files usually mean fresh kitchen waste has been left exposed. Always cover fresh materials with dry materials or a thin layer of soil. That reduces flies and unpleasant smells.
So compost also requires observation.
Of course it does. A wise farmer regularly checks the compost, just as they regularly inspect their crops.
Prof, this is probably the question many farmers are waiting to hear. How do we know when the compost is finally ready for use?
There are 5 important signs. Firstly, the color changes to dark brown or black. Secondly, the compost smells like fresh earth after rain. It should never smell rotten. Thirdly, the temperature becomes cool. That means the active decomposition has finished. Fourthly, most of the original materials can no longer be recognized. You should not easily identify maize stalks or leaves. And finally, the compost becomes soft and crumbly. When you squeeze it in your hand, it breaks apart easily.
Mine normally looks almost like forest-rich soil.
Yes, that is what farmers should aim for.
So how long does all this take?
Okay, it depends on the weather, moisture, and also the management. Quality compost usually matures within 6 to 10 weeks. If farmers chop materials into smaller pieces and turn the pile regularly, the composition becomes even faster.
It's time for our phone-in segments. Our lines are open for calls. So, Prof, while we wait for the call to come in, once compost is ready, how should farmers use it?
Now, there are different methods. For farmers cultivating small plots, place 1 or 2 handfuls into each planting hole and mix lightly with the soil before planting. For larger fields, spread the compost evenly during land preparation and incorporate it into the top 10 to 15 centimeters of soil. Whenever possible, apply compost 2 to 3 weeks before planting. This gives the soil organisms time to become active before the crop is established.
Should farmers stop using mineral fertilizer once they begin composting?
No. Compost and mineral fertilizer work best together. Compost improves soil health, while mineral fertilizer supplies nutrients quickly. Using the two together often produces better yields than relying on either one alone.
So compost doesn't replace my fertilizer completely?
Not in most farming systems. Think of compost as building a strong house. Mineral fertilizer furnishes that house. Without a strong foundation, the furniture also cannot solve the problem.
That's another lesson our listeners should not forget. Healthy soil makes fertilizer more effective. Oh, we already have a caller. Welcome to NARLS Smart Farmers Corner. Please tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Thank you very much. My name is Saidu, calling from the local government area. Thank you for today's program.
Thank you, Saidu. Please go ahead with your questions.
I have plenty poultry manure. Can I apply it direct to my maize without composting?
Thank you, Saidu. Fresh poultry manure is very rich in nitrogen. If applied in large quantities directly to crops, it may scorch young plants, encourage excessive vegetable growth, or result in nutrient losses into the air. It is better to compost it first or allow it to decompose properly before application. When composted with crop residues and dry materials, poultry manure becomes safer to handle and its nutrients are released more gradually.
Thank you very much, bro. I have learned something new today.
Thank you for calling, Saidu. We appreciate your participation. It is now time for the Soil Doctor's Clinic. Every week, listeners send us questions through comment section, and the Soil Doctor provides expert answers. Prof, are you ready?
I am always ready for you.
Okay, our first question comes from Mariam in Soba. She asks, can compost be prepared during the raining season?
Yes, of course. Composting can be done throughout the year. However, during the rainy season, the pile should be protected from excessive rainfall by covering it with grass, thatch, or other breathable materials. Too much rain can wash away nutrients out of the pile and slow decomposition.
Our second question is from Bello in Kachia. He asks, can I compost neem leaves?
Yes, you can compost neem leaves, as neem leaves can also be composted. However, because neem contains natural compounds that slow decomposition slightly, they should be mixed with other green and brown materials rather than being used alone.
Our third question comes from Fatima in Kura. She's asking, can compost improve soil that have become hard over the years?
Certainly. Repeated application of compost improves soil structure, reduces compaction, increases pore spaces, improves water infiltration, and encourages earthworm activity. Over time, hard soils become easier to cultivate.
Now, our final question today comes from Usman in Birningwari. He's asking, can compost help during drought?
Absolutely. Organic matter behaves like a sponge. It stores rainwater during the wet season and releases it gradually during dry periods. Fields that receive regular compost applications generally retain moisture longer than fields without organic matter. And that is one reason why composting is considered an important climate-smart agricultural practices.
Wonderful. Thank you, Prof. Those were very practical answers. We've learned so much today. But before we round off, let's see how much our farmers have learned. It's time for Compost Myth or Fact. I'll read out the statements and Ibrahim and Ramatu will tell us whether it's a myth or a fact. Then Professor Aisha will explain. Are we ready?
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are.
Statement number 1. Only rich farmers can make compost.
Before today, I would have said fact.
Mint.
Ramatu is the correct one. Compost is often easier for smallholder farmers because most of the raw materials are already available on the farm or around the home. What is required is knowledge and good management, not expensive equipment.
Statement number 2. Burning crop residues improves soil fertility.
Prof has already corrected me. Myth.
Correct! Burning destroys valuable organic matter, reduces soil biodiversity, kills beneficial organisms near the soil surface, and releases carbon into the atmosphere. Whenever possible, crop residues should be composted, incorporated into the soil, or used as mulch.
Statement number 3. Good compost should smell like rotten wastes.
Is mint.
Correct! Mature compost should smell like what? Fresh forest soil after rainfall. A foul smell usually indicates poor aeration or excessive moisture.
Statement number 4. Compost and mineral fertilizers can be used together.
This one is a fact.
That is excellent. Integrated soil fertility management encourages farmers to combine organic and inorganic nutrient sources. Compost improves soil structure, water retention, and biological activity, while mineral fertilizer produces nutrients that are immediately available to crops. The two complement each other.
Last one. Turning the compost pile helps microorganisms work better.
Fact.
And that is also correct. Turning introduces oxygen, regulates temperature and moisture, and speeds up decomposition.
Well done, Ibrahim. You've graduated from compost beginner to compost apprentice today.
Thank you. Next time you visit my farm, you won't find me burning maize stalks again.
Wow.
You'll find me making compost.
Okay, that's a nice one. Before next week's program, we have a practical assignment for every listener. This week's soil detective, Fatima, what is today's soil health challenge?
Thank you, Halima. Dear farmers, this week's challenge is simple. Walk around your compound and identify materials that can be used for composting. Separate them into 2 groups. Your brown materials, such as dry maize stalks, millet stalks, sorghum stalks, dry grass, and dry leaves. Then identify your green materials, including fresh wheat, vegetable peels, kitchen waste, goat manure, poultry manure, or cow dung. Choose a suitable shaded location and begin preparing your first compost heap using the steps we demonstrated today. Remember, composting is not a one-time activity. It should become part of your regular farm management.
And if farmers need practical assistance, they should contact their nearest agricultural extension office. We are always ready to guide you.
Thank you for this week's soil health challenge. Before we close, I'd like each of our guests to leave our listener with one important message. Ramatu.
I have learned that many of the things we throw away are valuable resources. From today, I will continue turning my farm and household waste into compost instead of burning it.
How about you, Shaibu?
I have also learned that healthy soil is the foundation of profitable farming. Every farmer should combine good soil management and improved seed. Proper spacing are recommended fertilizer practices.
And you, Ibrahim?
Today, I also discovered that fertilizer alone cannot solve every soil problem. Healthy soil must come first. I promise that this season I will start this composting.
And Prof, what last advice do you have for our farmers?
To our farmers, always remember this. Every farm produces compost materials every single day. The crop residues left after harvest, the manure from livestock, the weeds removed during reeding, the vegetable peels from the kitchen, the dry leaves that fall from trees. These are not waste. They are future harvests waiting to be transformed into plant food. When we compost these materials, we return valuable nutrients and organic matter to the soil. Over time, the soil becomes richer, healthier, and more productive. Composting is not just about making fertilizer. It is about restoring life to the soil. Healthy soil stores more water, supports more microorganisms, reduces erosion, improves fertilizer efficiency, and helps crops withstand droughts and other climate stresses. There's a popular Hausa proverb that says, "Abinda wasu ke kiran shara, manomi mai hikima yana kiransa taki," which means that what What some people call waste, a wise farmer calls fertilizer.
What a wonderful lesson. Healthy harvest begins with healthy soil, and healthy soil begins with good management. And this brings us to the end of our program, brought to you by Zaria Fertilizer, your partner in productive farming, in collaboration with NAERLS S3A SRG, under the C4C's Soil Health Series. For Zaria Fertilizer enquiries, call 080-3715-4428. For enquiries, or to send your question to our Soil Doctor Clinic, send your question through the comment section. Remember, understand the soil, feed the soil, sustain the harvest, and secure the future. Join us again next week for another very interesting topic. Noma the Hikima, Kirbi the Yelwa. Farm with wisdom, harvest with abundance. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe to the NARLS Farming Smart channel. Until next week, I am Halima Musa, wishing you healthy soil, abundant harvest, and prosperous farming. Say Marco Mizua.